The European Escobar, a name whispered in the shadows of Dubai's elite. How did Edin Tito Gacanin, a convicted drug kingpin, manage to evade justice while running a billion-dollar cartel from the world's most luxurious playground? Secret shell companies, corrupt officials, and a global coke empire, this is the untold story of one of the most powerful criminals still walking free today. A powerful and elusive drug kingpin, long accused of orchestrating a massive narcotics empire spanning multiple continents, strategically established a network of shell companies in the financial secrecy hubs of the British Virgin Islands and Dubai. These shadowy entities served as a facade for his operations, enabling him to employ trusted associates while shielding his vast illicit wealth from prying eyes. Confidential records now expose how Edin Tito Gacanin, a man with a history of high-profile drug convictions, continued to expand his operations unhindered, exploiting the opacity of these offshore jurisdictions to maintain his criminal enterprise. Born in Sarajevo but holding a Dutch passport, Gacanin has been a key player in the global drug trade, responsible for flooding Europe and other regions with enormous shipments of cocaine and amphetamines. His operations allegedly stretched across the criminal underworld, connecting him to a notorious super cartel that included the Kinahan organized crime group from Ireland, the Dutch Macro Mafia, and Italy's feared Camorra. The scale of his empire was so vast that in 2023, the U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control formally sanctioned him, labeling him both the leader of the Tito and Dino Cartel and a major transnational money launderer. Despite his criminal notoriety, Gacanin has managed to live in the relative comfort and security of Dubai, a city known not only for its gleaming skyscrapers and extravagant lifestyle, but also for its role as a financial haven where secrecy reigns. The United Arab Emirates, of which Dubai is one of 7 emirates, has increasingly become a refuge for high-profile drug traffickers and other international criminals, many of whom remain out of reach of law enforcement despite being on global watch lists. Gacanin's ascent to power was marked by his early relocation to the Netherlands after his family fled the war-torn Balkans in the 1990s. He settled in Breda, a city in southern Holland, where he would later build the connections that became the foundation of his empire. In time, his operations extended to South America, where he cultivated relationships with Peruvian crime families, particularly in the city of Trujillo, a well-known hub for cocaine production. These families were reportedly responsible for manufacturing and preparing massive drug shipments bound for Europe, working in close coordination with Gacanin's trusted Balkan associates, many of whom had known him since childhood. By 2014, Gacanin had relocated once again, this time setting his sights on Dubai. The following year, he founded a business named Edin DMCC in the city's financial district. Leaked documents indicate that within months, the company underwent a name change to Edin Group DMCC, aligning with a parent entity, Edin Group Limited, which had been discreetly registered in the British Virgin Islands around the same period. This offshore company was established through the assistance of Overseas Management Company Trust Limited, a well-known corporate service provider operating in the region. On paper, Edin Group DMCC presented itself as a legitimate consultancy firm, claiming to offer advisory services related to administrative performance analysis, procedural engineering, internal policy formulation, and corporate restructuring. However, the clumsy phrasing of its business plan suggested otherwise. In what appears to be a poorly translated document, the company vaguely described its objectives, stating that it would engage in administrative consultancies and studies to public departments and companies as regarding administrative performance analysis, procedural engineering, laying out flowcharts and related document circulation. The unclear wording only reinforced suspicions that the company was nothing more than a front. Further leaked records detail Gacanin's movements and business dealings within Dubai. His Dutch passport and a 2014 Dubai residency card confirm his presence in the emirate, where he was officially listed as the managing director of another firm, ENG International. A document signed by Gacanin in February 2016 shows him addressing Dubai authorities as the general director of ENG International, formally declaring that the company had no objections to him opening and operating a new branch within the city. Notably, neither the Dubai authorities nor the British Virgin Islands regulators raised any concerns about allowing a convicted drug trafficker to set up and control multiple businesses under their jurisdictions. When approached by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists for comment, a representative for the Dubai Multi-Commodities Center acknowledged that an individual named Edin Gacanin had indeed been linked to a company registered within the DMCC free zone up until 2021. However, the spokesperson insisted that at the time of registration, the organization had no knowledge of any allegations against him. The official further defended the DMCC's vetting procedures, asserting that their screening process was robust and involved comprehensive due diligence checks before granting business licenses. He emphasized that the DMCC retained full authority to revoke company registrations and sever ties with individuals found to be engaged in unlawful activities. Among the many noteworthy aspects of the leaked records is a particularly revealing detail. 2 senior Panamanian consular officials stationed in the United Arab Emirates played a direct role in legitimizing the establishment of one of Gacanin's key offshore entities. These officials jointly notarized both a certificate of incorporation and a certificate of incumbency for Edin Group Limited, a British Virgin Islands-based company. By affixing their signatures and the official stamp of the consulate to these documents, alongside a local notary, they effectively authorized the formation of this shell company. This maneuver, facilitated by overseas management company Trust Limited, ultimately provided Gacanin with a crucial foothold, allowing him to weave a more complex corporate web and extend his business empire into the UAE. One of the officials who endorsed these crucial documents was Eduardo Fonseca Ward, who at the time held the position of Consul General of Panama in the UAE. His name is particularly significant given his family's deep entanglement in one of the most infamous financial scandals of the 21st century. His father, Ramon Fonseca, was a co-founder of the now disgraced Panamanian law firm Mossack Fonseca, which stood at the heart of the explosive Panama Papers revelations. Despite multiple inquiries from ICIJ, neither Eduardo Fonseca Ward nor Panama's current Consul General in the UAE provided any response to questions regarding their involvement. Furthermore, both the Panamanian and British Virgin Islands governments chose to remain silent, declining to address the inquiries related to Gacanin's offshore dealings. Official records from the Virgin Islands Official Gazette indicate that Gacanin's company in the BVI was formally struck off the corporate registry in 2020. However, the broader context surrounding this event is significant, as it unfolded during a period of heightened scrutiny over the region's financial system. The British Virgin Islands had become a focal point for international law enforcement, particularly due to its role as a conduit for illicit financial flows. Earlier this month, the former Premier and Finance Minister of the BVI, Andrew Arturo Fahey, was convicted in a high-profile case involving the trafficking of staggering amounts of Colombian cocaine. Prosecutors revealed that he had conspired to facilitate the movement of thousands of kilograms of narcotics through BVI ports, working in direct collaboration with the infamous Sinaloa cartel to funnel drugs into Miami. Leaked documents suggest that Eduardo Fonseca Ward was no stranger to the creation of offshore entities and that his involvement in corporate notarization extended beyond Gacanin's case. He had previously provided similar services for other companies affiliated with OMC, raising further questions about the role of Panama's diplomatic corps in enabling questionable financial structures. This is not the first time that the Panamanian government has faced accusations of allowing its diplomatic network to serve as an enabler of corporate secrecy. As far back as 2016, local media outlet Panama America had reported that Eduardo's father, Ramon Fonseca, had exploited his influential role within the administration of then-President Juan Carlos Varela to facilitate Mossack Fonseca's global expansion. His ability to leverage government connections reportedly played a crucial role in the firm's ability to establish a vast network of shell companies, including in Dubai, where his son held a diplomatic post. The Fonseca family's legacy in financial controversy was further cemented this year when Ramon Fonseca passed away in May while on trial in Panama. He and his former business partner, Jürgen Mossack, had been facing legal proceedings alongside 26 others for their alleged involvement in setting up shell companies tied to 2 high-profile corruption scandals. Their trial underscored the deep-rooted nature of financial secrecy networks and the persistent challenge of holding facilitators accountable. Coincidentally, that same month, authorities in Bosnia and Herzegovina announced a significant diplomatic shakeup that bore direct connections to Gacanin's cartel. The government declared that it had dismissed Fatih Kol, who had been serving as Bosnia's honorary consul in Panama. Officials justified his removal by citing mounting evidence that the businessman-turned-diplomat was actively involved with the Tito and Dino Cartel. The revelation sent shockwaves through the region, raising fresh concerns about the extent to which criminal organizations had managed to infiltrate official institutions. When ICIJ sought comment from Kol regarding his alleged ties to Gacanin's network, he did not respond. The coordinated effort to impose sanctions on Edin Gacanin, infamously referred to as the European Escobar due to his role in the global drug trade, was the result of extensive collaboration between Europol and the governments of the Netherlands, France, and Belgium. Gacanin has been identified by U.S. authorities as one of the top 50 most influential drug traffickers worldwide, posing a direct threat not only to law enforcement but also to political stability and institutional integrity across the Western Balkans. Prosecutors in Bosnia and Herzegovina have taken their accusations even further, alleging that his criminal syndicate sought to infiltrate and seize control of the state by bribing high-ranking politicians, forging alliances with the country's top security officials, and orchestrating elaborate international money laundering schemes to disguise illicit profits. In 2022, for the 6th consecutive year, European nations reported unprecedented volumes of cocaine being intercepted at their borders, with seizures reaching a staggering 356 metric tons. Belgium, Spain, and the Netherlands bore the brunt of this surge, as their ports became primary entry points for the relentless influx of narcotics. The unprecedented flood of cocaine has had severe consequences beyond law enforcement challenges. European health agencies are now overwhelmed by the growing addiction crisis, while cities such as Amsterdam, Dublin, and Belgrade are facing an alarming escalation in violence directly linked to the illicit drug trade. Targeted assassinations, brutal gang wars, and the expansion of criminal networks have turned once thriving urban centers into battlegrounds for rival factions seeking control over the lucrative cocaine supply routes. Despite mounting international pressure, Dubai and other cities across the United Arab Emirates continue to serve as havens for high-profile drug traffickers and the shell companies they use to conceal their financial activities. The Emirates' lax regulatory environment and opaque corporate structures provide ideal conditions for illicit actors to operate under the guise of legitimate businesses, allowing them to evade extradition and maintain control over their global enterprises. Gacanin's arrest in Dubai in November 2022, carried out as part of Operation Desert Light at the request of Dutch authorities, initially seemed like a major breakthrough in the effort to dismantle his organization. A court in the Netherlands later sentenced him in absentia to 7 years in prison for orchestrating the trafficking of massive quantities of cocaine and methamphetamine precursor chemicals, in addition to imposing a $1 million fine. However, despite the seemingly decisive nature of this ruling, the outcome proved to be little more than a symbolic victory. Due to procedural shortcomings, Gacanin was never extradited and was soon released, returning to his life of luxury in Dubai. Investigative reports from Amsterdam-based newspaper Het Parool suggest that the Netherlands failed to submit a formal extradition request within the 40-day window mandated by UAE law. Dutch prosecutors, however, refuted claims of negligence, insisting that they had followed proper legal procedures. The damning evidence that secured Gacanin's conviction was primarily derived from intercepted messages on Sky ECC, an encrypted messaging service widely used by criminal organizations. These decrypted communications exposed his direct involvement in smuggling thousands of kilograms of cocaine and precursor chemicals from China into key European markets, including the Netherlands, Belgium, and Germany, throughout 2020. According to court documents from Rotterdam's district court, Gacanin opted to strike a deal with prosecutors, choosing not to contest the overwhelming evidence against him in exchange for a reduced sentence, an arrangement previously reported by ICIJ media partners at NRC. His arrest in Dubai was not an isolated event. Authorities also apprehended several of his closest associates, including 3 Dutch-Moroccan nationals, a Panamanian named Anthony Alfredo Martinez Meza, alias Hassan, and a British citizen, Ryan Robo James Hale. Both Martinez Meza and Hale have long been suspected of having ties to the infamous Kinahan Cartel, a criminal organization that has established deep-rooted connections across Europe and the Middle East. The encrypted Sky ECC network, which facilitated much of their communications, was effectively dismantled in 2021 following a series of coordinated police raids that exposed its widespread use by drug syndicates. Spanish law enforcement later uncovered additional damning evidence against Hale and Martinez Meza. According to Spain's Civil Guard, the 2 men had relied heavily on Sky ECC to monitor the movement of nearly 700 kilograms of cocaine concealed in a shipping container bound for Valencia in 2020. When Spanish authorities intercepted the shipment, Martinez Meza, who held high-ranking positions in multiple Panamanian shell companies, was caught sending messages expressing his frustration, reportedly lamenting, "I shit on my fucking life." Despite repeated inquiries from ICIJ, Dubai authorities have refused to comment on the whereabouts or legal status of Gacanin, Hale, or Martinez Meza. During an interview with ICIJ, Fran Torres, the head of Spain's Civil Guard's Central Anti-Drugs Group, detailed the extensive international effort required to trace the origins of the cocaine seized in Valencia. Investigators ultimately linked the shipment back to Panama, and by decrypting Sky ECC messages, they uncovered its connections to what Torres was the first to refer to as a super cartel. He explained that the leadership structure of this highly organized criminal network operated from Dubai, where its key figures enjoyed the protection afforded by the Emirates' legal system. Torres further emphasized that securing the cooperation of Dubai's law enforcement was crucial in executing Operation Desert Light, crediting the involvement of Dubai Police Commander-in-Chief Abdullah Khalifa al-Mari as instrumental in facilitating the arrests of 6 major cartel figures. These included Gacanin, Hale, Martinez Meza, Zuhair Belkhair, Hosni Adjare, and Rabiu Burfa, each considered a high-value target in the global fight against narco-trafficking. However, despite these arrests, no meaningful legal actions have followed. Spain has formally requested the extradition of both Hale and Martinez Meza, but their appeals have faced substantial delays, hindered by bureaucratic obstacles and the complexities of international legal treaties. Although Dubai authorities have confiscated the passports of the 6 men, effectively restricting their ability to travel beyond the UAE, Torres pointed out that they have little incentive to leave. "We know that the 6 Desert Light capos arrested in Dubai are free, but they can't leave the country because their passports have been seized," he said. "But they don't want to leave either. Where are they going to go?" He further noted that the extradition process in Dubai has historically been sluggish, with prolonged delays stemming from a convoluted legal framework that complicates cooperation between law enforcement agencies across different jurisdictions. Despite facing criminal convictions and being subjected to international sanctions, Edin Gacanin has managed to maintain control over his extensive drug trafficking operations, orchestrating the movement of massive cocaine shipments from South America to Europe and Australia, all while residing comfortably in Dubai. Europol, along with Bosnian prosecutors, has accused him of continuing to oversee a vast narcotics distribution network spanning Brazil, Colombia, and Peru. His influence has not waned, nor has the reach of his criminal organization, which remains deeply entrenched in the global drug trade. Dubai has provided not just a refuge, but a strategic hub for Gacanin and his associates, including key members of the notorious Kinahan Cartel, who have also taken advantage of the Emirates' historical reluctance to extradite high-profile criminals. Balkan traffickers have long been recognized as major players in the international drug trade, with their activities extending beyond Europe. They have also been implicated in smuggling vast quantities of cocaine into the United States. One of the most striking examples of their audacious operations came to light in June 2019, when authorities in Philadelphia made a record-breaking seizure of approximately 20 metric tons of cocaine aboard the MSC Gacanin, a commercial cargo vessel. The sheer scale of the confiscation underscored the formidable capabilities of Balkan criminal syndicates, whose logistical prowess rivals that of the world's most powerful drug cartels. The Kinahan Cartel, along with other high-profile criminals such as Ryan Robo Hale, had previously operated out of southern Spain, a region that served as a base for their illegal dealings. However, as violent conflicts erupted between rival criminal factions, these figures sought safer ground. Around the same time that Edin Gacanin was expanding his operations in Dubai, many of these Irish and British gangsters fled there as well, capitalizing on the Emirates' reputation as a sanctuary for international criminals. Until recently, Dubai was known for offering foreign fugitives a combination of personal security and legal protections that made extradition almost impossible. This environment allowed organized crime figures to not only evade justice but also continue running their illicit enterprises with minimal interference. Spanish law enforcement officials have experienced firsthand the difficulties of securing extradition from the United Arab Emirates. Macarena Arroyo Marin, a prominent anti-drug prosecutor based in Algeciras and Campo de Gibraltar, expressed her frustration with the bureaucratic roadblocks repeatedly imposed by UAE authorities. She specifically cited the case of Alejandro Salgado Vera, a notorious trafficker known as El Tigre, whose extradition has been repeatedly delayed. When we try to take legal action, everything becomes more complicated. The judicial process slows down, they demand excessive documentation, and when we comply, they simply do not respond, Arroyo Marin told ICIJ, highlighting the opaque legal environment that has enabled criminals to operate with impunity. Spain itself has increasingly found itself on the front lines of Europe's cocaine trade. Algeciras, historically known for its bustling port operations, is now emerging as a key entry point for Latin American drug shipments, rivaling major cocaine hubs such as Valencia, Antwerp, and Rotterdam. The rise of this southern Spanish port as a trafficking hotspot coincides with a shift in the financial strategies of drug traffickers. While Gibraltar was once the primary destination for laundering illicit proceeds, criminals are now diverting their profits into real estate and businesses in Dubai, further entrenching their foothold in the Emirates' financial system. A significant portion of the cocaine flooding European markets is arriving via a trafficking corridor commonly referred to as La Ruta de la Banana, or the Banana Route. This well-established smuggling route runs from major South American production zones in Brazil, Ecuador, and Costa Rica to European ports, and it has become the preferred channel for Balkan drug syndicates. The method behind this operation is deceptively simple yet highly effective. Criminal networks exploit the existing trade flows of multinational banana companies, using legitimate shipments as cover for their illicit cargo. Because these multinational corporations have long established commercial relationships and supply chains, they are subject to less scrutiny, allowing traffickers to seamlessly move large quantities of narcotics without attracting suspicion. Arroyo Marin elaborated on the techniques used to smuggle drugs into Europe via this method, emphasizing that corruption within key ports has exacerbated the problem. One of the major challenges we face is the level of corruption inside the ports. Traffickers conceal the drugs within legitimate shipments, often hiding them in cargo labeled as tropical fruits or timber. Another common strategy is the use of blind hood or lost hook, where traffickers place bags or backpacks filled with drugs inside a container that also carries legitimate goods. Once the shipment reaches its destination, corrupt port workers retrieve the hidden contraband without arousing suspicion. Despite Edin Gacanin's prior convictions for drug trafficking, he encountered no significant obstacles when establishing companies in offshore secrecy jurisdictions such as the British Virgin Islands and Dubai. According to court documents from the Rotterdam District Court, Gacanin had already been convicted twice for narcotics-related crimes before relocating to the United Arab Emirates. Yet, his criminal record did not deter authorities in Dubai or the British Virgin Islands from allowing him to incorporate businesses under their jurisdictions. Neither government, nor the corporate service providers responsible for facilitating company formations, raised any concerns about his background. Even the Dubai Multi-Commodities Center, a special economic zone that markets itself as a tightly regulated business hub, did not block his application, further demonstrating the ease with which high-profile criminals can exploit offshore financial networks. Gacanin's main Dubai-based entity, Edin Group DMCC, was officially registered at Jewelry and Gemplex 3, a commercial tower in the Jumeirah Lakes DMCC business district, one of many self-regulated free trade zones in the emirate. However, when listing his personal address, Gacanin selected a far more prestigious location, a unit within Khalifa Tower Zone 4, a section of the world-famous Burj Khalifa, the tallest skyscraper on the planet. From this luxurious vantage point, he orchestrated his operations while enjoying sweeping views of Dubai's skyline and coastline. To oversee day-to-day business activities, Edin Group DMCC brought in a Dutch-Moroccan national, Naal Hadouch, a former DMCC employee, to run what the company vaguely described as an administrative consultancy serving the Gulf region. Despite her central role in the business, Hadouch declined to respond to questions regarding her involvement when approached by ICIJ. At the same time that he was expanding his operations in Dubai, Gacanin was also setting up Edin Group Limited in the British Virgin Islands, a well-known offshore secrecy jurisdiction with notoriously weak regulatory oversight. Records from the leaked files identify Gacanin as the chairman, director, and ultimate owner of the company, while OMC's managing director, Sandra Vasquez, is listed as the registered agent responsible for its administration. The involvement of OMC, Overseas Management Company Trust Limited, a corporate service provider with a global presence, allowed Gacanin to establish the offshore firm with minimal scrutiny. Through his Dubai-based entities, Gacanin engaged in several seemingly legitimate business ventures. According to Dubai corporate filings accessed by ICIJ via the CRA database, Edin Group DMCC invested in a men's grooming salon called House of Handsome Gents Salon via a second company named Dubai Free Zone Edin Group. The salon was owned by Taher Nazir Ali Hussein, an Emirati businessman who also acted as Edin Group DMCC's registered agent. Dubai business records further revealed that Hussein and Hadouch co-owned a confectionery business called Dutchie's Sweets and Treats LLC, which operated a cafe located at Kite Beach, a popular waterfront destination in Dubai. Additionally, Hadouch managed yet another company owned by Hussein, Earth Concepts Middle East Water Trading LLC, a firm specializing in beverage distribution. The extent of the business network linked to Gacanin does not end there. Hussein also held ownership of Chef Latino Restaurant LLC, a restaurant enterprise in Dubai. Meanwhile, a LinkedIn profile belonging to Edin Group DMCC's HR executive, Amorme Mifana, provides further insight into the interconnected nature of these businesses. According to her profile, Mifana was responsible for managing staff across multiple sectors, including a salon, coffee shop, restaurant, and water distribution company. This suggests that Hussein's various businesses were, in some capacity, tied to Gacanin's broader operations. When contacted for comment, neither Hussein nor Mifana responded to ICIJ's inquiries. Dutch entrepreneur Patrick de Necker, co-founder of the Amsterdam-based social enterprise Earth Concepts, offered additional details regarding the dealings between his company and Naal Hadouch. Earth Concepts, which sells bottled water to fund international relief projects, had supplied Hadouch with a limited shipment of its branded Earth water several years prior. "We sold her some pallets, maybe one full container at most," de Necker told ICIJ. "We were happy to make the sale and tell people they could buy Earth water in Dubai, too. But after that, we had no further contact." He clarified that neither his company nor its Dutch operations had any ties to Earth Concepts Middle East, the Dubai-based entity managed by Hadouch. The House of Handsome Gents Salon, one of the Dubai businesses associated with Gacanin's network, markets itself as a luxury grooming establishment catering to men who seek high-end self-care services. Its website describes it as an elegant, luxurious, welcoming place where men can experience services that focus on their physical and mental welfare, beauty, and style. However, when ICIJ reached out for comment, the salon did not respond. The role of OMC, the corporate services provider responsible for registering Edin Group Limited in the British Virgin Islands, raises further concerns about the regulatory oversight of offshore entities. On its website, OMC claims to conduct extensive searches, examine existing documentation, and validate information as part of its due diligence process to ensure compliance with anti-money laundering regulations. Both the UAE and the British Virgin Islands have publicly pledged their commitment to the global fight against money laundering, and UAE law stipulates that failure to comply with anti-money laundering policies can result in both civil and criminal penalties. When pressed by ICIJ regarding the level of due diligence conducted on Gacanin before his company was incorporated, OMC issued a statement asserting that it operates with rigorous compliance standards. OMC is committed to maintaining a robust compliance program, which includes comprehensive due diligence policies and procedures, the firm stated. We adhere to all applicable laws in the jurisdictions in which we operate and cooperate fully with regulators and law enforcement in all inquiries and investigations. We consistently strive to exceed standards and take pride in the work we do. However, OMC has previously been implicated in a separate ICIJ investigation, which identified at least 21 politicians and public officials among its clientele, raising further questions about its vetting processes. Dubai's intricate web of shell companies, loosely regulated free trade zones, and opaque financial systems has long made it a sanctuary for individuals and organizations seeking to operate outside the scrutiny of traditional law enforcement. This lack of oversight has allowed figures like Edin Gacanin to not only establish businesses but also use them to provide employment opportunities for alleged members of his cartel, further embedding his criminal network within the city's financial ecosystem. By 2018, Edin Group DMCC had officially relocated to a new business address within the Jumeirah Lakes Towers district, an area within the Dubai Multi-Commodities Center, where it continued to function under the guise of a legitimate enterprise. Among those employed by the company was Adnan Smajlovic, a Bosnian national identified by law enforcement agencies as a key figure in Gacanin's cartel. According to investigators, Smajlovic played a pivotal role in handling and distributing illicit funds on behalf of the organization. In August 2020 alone, he allegedly received a sum of approximately $300,000, which he was then responsible for redistributing to various criminal operatives across Bosnia and Herzegovina. The company's payroll also included individuals with varying backgrounds. Among them was Sanchez Djukic, a French Bosnian citizen who had previously been linked to large-scale cocaine procurement for the cartel. Additionally, the firm hired a former Bosnian police officer turned personal bodyguard, along with 3 others who had no publicly known connections to criminal activity: a Dutch national from Gacanin's hometown of Breda, a Brazilian woman, and an Ethiopian woman who, according to health insurance documentation, was one of at least 3 Ethiopian nationals employed by the company. Despite his critical role in the organization, Smajlovic was officially listed as an accounting clerk for Edin Group DMCC, while Djukic was contracted as a sales associate in the same year. Bosnian prosecutors have since revealed that between 2016 and 2021, Smajlovic and Gacanin used encrypted messaging services, particularly the Sky ECC platform, to coordinate a vast money laundering operation spanning multiple countries, including Bosnia and Herzegovina, the United Arab Emirates, the Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, various South American nations, and even the Republic of South Africa. Investigators identified Djukic as one of the individuals responsible for acquiring large quantities of cocaine for the cartel, though he has denied any involvement and is currently being held in custody in Bosnia awaiting trial. Another former Bosnian law enforcement officer, Zeniz Kadric, also found employment with Edin Group DMCC. Kadric, who was arrested in his home country in February as part of a police operation dubbed Consigliere, is suspected of participating in organized crime, narcotics trafficking, and money laundering. His employment contract, dated December 1, 2016, stated that he was hired as an archive clerk on an indefinite contract, though he was subject to a 6-month probation period. However, law enforcement sources and media reports suggest that his real role extended far beyond clerical duties. Kadric had previously been photographed alongside Gacanin in Dubai and was widely regarded as one of his trusted bodyguards. His arrest followed his return to Sarajevo from Dubai in December of the previous year, though he has since been released while awaiting trial. His wife, a well-known social media influencer in Bosnia, frequently documented their extravagant lifestyle, and the couple was known to dote on their pet cat, El Chapo, whose name was almost certainly inspired by the infamous Mexican drug lord, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. In July 2017, Edin Group DMCC expanded its workforce further by hiring Leslie Sonny Zimmerman, a Dutch citizen from Breda, the same city where Gacanin's family had settled after fleeing the Bosnian War. Zimmerman was officially employed as a follow-up clerk. The following year, the company brought in Quila Garces de Silva, a Brazilian national, to join the sales division. De Silva had previously worked for a non-governmental organization assisting disadvantaged communities in Sao Paulo, but after securing employment with Edin Group DMCC, her lifestyle appeared to undergo a dramatic transformation. From 2018 onward, she began posting images of herself at luxurious resorts and high-end destinations, including opulent retreats in Dubai, Italy, France, and Greece. The company's hiring spree continued into the next month when a young Ethiopian woman, Hermila Tedes Bekele, was added to the workforce in the same follow-up clerk role as Zimmerman. Her addition further reinforced the multinational composition of the firm's employees, a mix of individuals with seemingly innocuous professional backgrounds and others who, according to prosecutors, had direct ties to Gacanin's criminal empire. In 2019, Peruvian authorities dealt a significant blow to the international drug trade by intercepting more than 5 metric tons of cocaine that were allegedly destined for distribution, under the command of Edin Gacanin's cartel. These seizures occurred as part of 2 large-scale law enforcement operations, codenamed Bee and Banana, which also resulted in the arrests of several individuals suspected of working as Gacanin's operatives in Peru. The scale of the intercepted shipments underscored the cartel's extensive reach, which stretched far beyond South America. Investigations later linked Gacanin's network to other enormous cocaine consignments seized across multiple continents, including in Sri Lanka, Antwerp, and the Spanish port of Algeciras, key transit hubs in the global drug supply chain. Despite these setbacks for the organization, Gacanin's influence remained largely undiminished, particularly in the Balkans, where his cartel had deeply embedded itself in political and law enforcement structures. In April of this year, Bosnian authorities launched an unprecedented crackdown on suspected cartel-affiliated individuals in Sarajevo, conducting simultaneous raids on approximately 30 locations as part of Operation Black Tie. This large-scale mission, which led to the arrest of 23 individuals, was carried out with support from Europol, the FBI, and the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. Among those detained were multiple high-ranking law enforcement officials suspected of close ties to Gacanin's criminal empire. However, despite the initial success of the raids, many of those arrested were subsequently released without charge, leaving the long-term impact of the operation uncertain as investigations continue. Experts in transnational organized crime have long warned of the extent to which Balkan criminal networks have infiltrated key institutions. Anessa Agavic, a field coordinator for the Global Initiative Against Transnational Organized Crime, described the Gacanin cartel's ability to manipulate the region's political and economic landscape through systematic bribery, clandestine political financing, and the strategic use of front companies. According to Agavic, Gacanin's organization exploited existing political instability to its advantage, ensuring its survival by cultivating relationships with figures in law enforcement, government, and even the sports industry. She noted that one of the most concerning aspects of the investigation was the involvement of seemingly respectable individuals, including young professionals and athletes, who had no prior criminal records. The intricate relationship between organized crime, corruption, and political influence in Bosnia and Herzegovina highlights the urgent need for decisive action to dismantle these networks and protect democratic institutions, Agavic stated. The decrypted Sky ECC messages have revealed a disturbing level of criminal entanglement with state officials, reinforcing the necessity for coordinated efforts at both the national and international levels. Of the individuals arrested during the Black Tie operation, only 3 remained in custody as of the latest reports: Adnan Smajlovic, Sances Djikic, and Ida Halak, a local politician with alleged cartel connections. Halleck, a former professional boxer and gym owner in the city of Zenica, was a counselor for the BVI Kazamovic Fuad party and had come under suspicion for allegedly receiving financial support from Gacanin for her mayoral campaign. Investigators also uncovered evidence suggesting that she had been secretly communicating with him, raising further questions about the extent of her involvement in the cartel's operations. Halleck's ties to the criminal underworld appear to extend beyond her association with Gacanin. She is reportedly a cousin of David Kufaj, another boxer who was convicted in absentia in Peru for attempting to smuggle over 2 metric tons of cocaine to Belgium using an elaborate trafficking method. The technique employed by Kufaj, known as within the load, involved concealing cocaine within legitimate agricultural exports such as asparagus, bananas, coffee, and pineapples. This method is commonly used by traffickers who either establish front companies themselves or take over existing businesses with clean financial records, allowing them to disguise drug shipments among legal goods. Beyond facilitating smuggling operations, these businesses also provide an effective means of laundering illicit proceeds, ensuring that criminal organizations can move vast sums of money undetected through legitimate financial channels. Another individual caught up in Operation Black Tie was Smail Cicolo, a fugitive from Peruvian justice who had previously been arrested in the city of Trujillo on charges of attempting to smuggle 1.4 metric tons of cocaine. Rather than facing trial in Peru, Cicolo managed to flee to Bosnia and Herzegovina, where he was later arrested during the raids but subsequently released. His case took an unexpected turn when Peruvian authorities filed an extradition request seeking to have him returned to Lima to stand trial, only for the request to be rejected by Bosnian officials. The controversy surrounding his release deepened when it was revealed that a Peruvian judge had mistakenly allowed him to go free, a decision that sparked outrage within the country's judicial system. The Office of Misdemeanors Control in Lima ultimately suspended the judge over the scandal, citing negligence in handling a case involving a high-profile drug trafficker. The relentless pursuit of Edin Gacanin has shed light on the intricate global supply networks that fuel the cocaine trade, revealing how some of the most powerful drug traffickers in the world have managed to collaborate seamlessly from their base in Dubai. By leveraging the Emirates' lax financial regulations and business-friendly policies, these criminals have been able to orchestrate the procurement and distribution of vast quantities of cocaine from Latin America, ensuring a steady supply to meet the insatiable demand in Europe. Recent investigations have exposed the scale of this operation, demonstrating how criminal syndicates have adapted their trafficking routes and business models to maintain dominance over the global cocaine market. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, European consumers accounted for approximately 24% of the world's total cocaine use in 2020, making the continent one of the most lucrative destinations for drug traffickers. Although the COVID-19 pandemic momentarily disrupted international supply chains due to lockdown measures, restricted travel, and the closure of nightclubs and entertainment venues where the drug is typically consumed, this slowdown had little long-term impact. In fact, ANOC reports that the overall supply of cocaine is now higher than ever, driven in part by the continued expansion of coca bush cultivation and, equally crucially, by technological advancements that have made the processing of coca leaves into cocaine hydrochloride significantly more efficient. One of the most notable shifts in the drug trade has been the gradual decline of Colombia's role as the primary departure point for cocaine shipments bound for Europe. While Colombian ports once served as the dominant gateway for smuggling operations, traffickers have increasingly rerouted their shipments through other South and Central American nations to avoid heightened scrutiny from law enforcement. Reports suggest that Gacanin played a key role in establishing his cartel's foothold in Peru, specifically in the coastal city of Callao, a major commercial port located near the capital, Lima. This strategic location has become one of the most important launching points for cocaine destined for the European market, further cementing Gacanin's influence in the international narcotics trade. The journey of cocaine from its origins in the Andean region to the streets of Europe is both brutal and methodical. The process begins in the remote jungles of Colombia, Ecuador, and other coca-producing nations, where impoverished farmers manually harvest coca leaves before subjecting them to a series of chemical treatments. The raw plant material is crushed and mixed with industrial solvents such as cement, quicklime, and sulfuric acid before being left to soak in vats filled with gasoline. From this toxic mixture, a crude paste is extracted using additional chemicals, including ammonia, caustic soda, and more sulfuric acid. At this stage, traffickers purchase the unrefined paste for a few $100s per kilogram, then process it into the final product, powdered cocaine hydrochloride, using sophisticated chemical refinement methods. Once converted, the drug is smuggled across borders, often concealed within legitimate cargo shipments or carried by couriers. By the time it reaches consumers in Europe, its value has skyrocketed, fetching tens of thousands of dollars per kilogram. The sheer scale of cocaine availability in Europe today is unprecedented. Scientific research conducted by the European Monitoring Center for Drugs and Drug Addiction indicates that, since 2016, the drug has become more widely accessible than at any point in modern history. This conclusion is supported by wastewater analysis conducted in various European cities, which has consistently detected increasing levels of cocaine residue, reflecting rising consumption across the continent. It has never been easier for people to get access to cocaine, said João Matias, a scientific analyst specializing in drug addiction and public health at EMCDDA. Purity levels have gone up. Problematic use is worsening. Crack cocaine, which was once largely confined to major urban centers, is now spreading into smaller towns and rural areas. Hospital admissions linked to cocaine use are rising. In Scandinavia and the Baltic states, countries like Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, where cocaine was historically rare, it is now widely consumed. Beyond the immediate health consequences of cocaine use, Matias warned that its increasing availability poses severe risks, both to individuals and society as a whole. Chronic cocaine use is strongly correlated with a range of life-threatening conditions, including heart attacks, strokes, and severe mental health deterioration. In many cases, heavy consumption contributes to heightened rates of suicide and accidental overdoses. Edin Gacanin has long been intertwined with some of the world's most powerful and dangerous organized crime figures, and his presence at an extravagant Dubai wedding in 2017 only further underscored his status within the global narcotics trade. That year, he attended the opulent nuptials of Daniel Kinahan, the Irish crime boss and boxing promoter, who married Kiva Robinson at the luxurious Burj Al Arab Hotel. The event, attended by an elite selection of international criminals, was far more than a mere social gathering. It served as a strategic meeting point for the leaders of a super cartel responsible for the large-scale importation of cocaine into Europe. Among the distinguished guests were Italian Camorra boss Rafael Imperiali, Dutch-Moroccan underworld kingpin Ridouan Taghi, and Dutch-Chilean gangster Ricardo Riquelme Vega, also known as El Rico. The Drug Enforcement Administration and law enforcement agencies monitoring encrypted Sky ECC communications later uncovered evidence that the wedding was a front for an organized crime summit. The cartel leaders reportedly used the occasion to discuss their joint cocaine investment fund, an arrangement that allowed them to pool their resources and maximize profits by coordinating large-scale shipments from South America to European markets. The extent of these criminal collaborations was later confirmed in September 2023, when Rafael Imperiali, the Camorra boss turned informant, provided detailed testimony to Dutch and Italian authorities. His revelations, documented in interrogation transcripts obtained by ICIJ partner NRC, painted a vivid picture of a tightly connected criminal network that spanned multiple continents. According to Imperiali, the cartel leaders maintained a capital pool of approximately 100 million euros, which they used to finance massive cocaine shipments. These transactions often involved direct partnerships, so-called joint ventures, with powerful Colombian cartels, ensuring a steady and uninterrupted flow of narcotics into Europe. Beyond drug trafficking, the cartel's vast financial resources were also directed toward more sinister operations. Imperiali detailed how criminal syndicates organized high-profile assassinations using professional hitmen known as ninjas, a term commonly used in Colombia for contract killers. Unlike traditional mafia hitmen who are groomed from an early age within criminal organizations, these assassins were recruited through specialized agencies, particularly in the Netherlands. Imperiale claimed that the standard contract for a ninja-style liquidation cost criminal organizations around €1 million, though the hired assassin typically received only €30,000, with the remaining funds going to intermediaries. These assassins, operating as freelancers, carried out murders worldwide, eliminating competitors, informants, and anyone who posed a threat to the cartel's operations. Despite being one of the most sought-after figures in the international drug trade, Gacanin continued to conduct business as though he were a legitimate entrepreneur. His British Virgin Islands-based company, Edin Group Limited, received a certificate of good standing in 2018 from the Jebel Ali Free Zone Authority, a business regulatory body operating under the jurisdiction of the government of Dubai. This certification, granted despite his long history of narcotics trafficking, allowed him to maintain his financial operations in the emirate with little interference. JAFZA, which markets itself as one of the world's largest and most influential free zones, providing businesses with access to over 3.5 billion people, declined to comment on how such a document was issued to a known criminal. While Gacanin was free to continue his illicit activities, his longtime associate Ridwan Taghi was not as fortunate. In 2019, Taghi was arrested in Dubai and extradited to the Netherlands, where he became the central figure in one of the most shocking organized crime cases in recent European history. The key witness in the prosecution's case was Nabil B., a former associate who had agreed to testify against Taghi's network. However, this decision came at a devastating cost. His brother, Ridwan B., was executed in retaliation, followed by his lawyer, Dirk Wiersum, in 2019. Then, in 2021, renowned Dutch investigative journalist Peter de Vries, who had been working closely with Nabil B. as his confidant, was also assassinated. Although Taghi was never formally charged with orchestrating de Vries' murder, many believed he was behind the killing. Earlier this year, he was sentenced to life in prison for ordering at least 5 murders and 2 attempted killings. He decided who would live and who would die, and he spared no one, the presiding judge stated at his sentencing. Another high-profile criminal who faced justice was Rafael Imperiale, who had spent 5 years on the run before his capture in Dubai in August 2021. Unlike Taghi, however, Imperiale opted to turn informant. As part of a plea deal with Italian authorities, he reportedly handed over a privately owned man-made island off the coast of Dubai, known as Taiwan, which was valued at tens of millions of dollars. Prior to his arrest, Imperiale had also earned the moniker the Van Gogh Boss due to his possession of 2 stolen masterpieces by Vincent van Gogh. After striking a deal with prosecutors, he provided critical information that led to the painting's recovery. View of the Sea at Scheveningen and Congregation leaving the Reformed Church in Nuenen, both stolen from Amsterdam's Van Gogh Museum, were returned to Dutch authorities as part of his cooperation agreement. The global law enforcement crackdown on organized crime eventually extended to Daniel Kinahan and his Kinahan Cartel, with the U.S. government imposing economic sanctions on the group in April 2022. However, despite these sanctions, Kinahan's wife, Kiva Robinson, continued to engage in real estate transactions in Dubai, buying and selling properties while her husband remained under intense scrutiny. ICIJ investigations have further uncovered that Daniel Kinahan, along with his father Christopher Kinahan Sr. and brother Christopher Kinahan Jr., had established a series of Dubai-based companies operating under the guise of textile trading, grain exports, and aviation businesses. Much like Edin Gacanin, the Kinahans strategically incorporated their names into their company branding, claiming to be legitimate consultancy firms. These businesses, while appearing lawful on paper, are suspected of serving as fronts for money laundering and criminal operations. Among the top figures in the super cartel, the Kinahan family remains an anomaly. Unlike their counterparts, they have thus far managed to evade capture. Despite extensive international efforts to dismantle their network, Daniel Kinahan, Christopher Kinahan Sr., and Christopher Kinahan Jr. remain at large. U.S. authorities, in a bid to bring them to justice, have placed a staggering $5 million bounty on each of their heads. Although widely believed to still be residing in Dubai, the Kinahans have not been seen in public for several months, fueling speculation about their whereabouts and the extent of their continued operations in the region. However, the Kinahans are not alone in their Dubai sanctuary. Several of their most trusted lieutenants, including Sean McGovern, Bernard Clancy, and Ian Dixon, are also believed to be living freely in the emirate. McGovern, in particular, is a wanted man. Authorities have issued a European arrest warrant against him for his alleged role in a high-profile murder case in Ireland. Despite being officially sanctioned, these individuals have seemingly managed to continue their existence unbothered by law enforcement, thanks in part to Dubai's historically lax extradition policies. During his cooperation with international investigators, Rafael Imperiali, the Camorra boss-turned-informant, provided fascinating insights into the power dynamics within the super cartel. He recounted a particularly bizarre incident in which the idea was floated that a gang rival should be assassinated in Dubai by a ninja-style stabbing. Imperiali dismissed the proposal outright, recognizing that such an act would provoke the wrath of the Dubai authorities and lead to a wave of arrests, including, potentially, the downfall of Daniel Kinahan himself. "I was in complete control," Imperiali reportedly told investigators. "I knew this would never happen. And I knew Daniel was on my side because Daniel was also completely against this." According to Imperiali, such discussions were nothing more than psychological warfare, a game of power and intimidation between competing factions. However, he made one thing abundantly clear: outside of Dubai, and any other part of the world, those people would have been killed without hesitation if the opportunity had arisen. Meanwhile, investigations into the Kinahan network have unearthed further evidence of their financial operations, revealing how deeply embedded they are in offshore secrecy jurisdictions. ISIG has previously exposed that one of their sanctioned associates, John Francis Morrissey, had utilized shell companies in the British Virgin Islands and Panama, with the assistance of the now-disgraced firm Mossack Fonseca, to establish an online platform as far back as 2009. Although his business dealings remained largely in the shadows for years, authorities eventually caught up with Morrissey. Spanish law enforcement arrested him on charges of laundering hundreds of thousands of dollars per day for the Kinahan Cartel, making him one of the most critical financial operatives in their empire. However, in May, after just a short period in custody, a lower court in Marbella granted him provisional release on bail of €60,000. As conditions of his release, Morrissey was forced to surrender his passport, prohibited from leaving Spain, and required to appear before the court twice a month. All subsequent hearings in his case have been held in strict secrecy, raising questions about whether his full range of activities will ever be exposed to the public. Despite mounting evidence that Dubai has become a major hub for international narcotics traffickers, the United Arab Emirates recently secured removal from the Financial Action Task Force's watch list of countries deemed at risk for illicit financial flows. This decision, reportedly backed by Germany, the United States, and other Western governments, came in February, even as law enforcement agencies continued to trace vast shipments of cocaine back to traffickers operating openly from the emirate. This controversial development has reinforced concerns that diplomatic and economic interests may be preventing a full-scale crackdown on the high-profile criminals who have made Dubai their home. In response to inquiries from journalists, Dubai police declined to comment, remaining silent on the growing evidence that the city remains a safe haven for global crime syndicates. As scrutiny around these operations intensifies, new voices have emerged to distance themselves from the unfolding scandal. In October, Nawal Hadouch, a former employee of Edin Group DMCC, issued a public statement denying any knowledge of criminal activities related to Edin Gacanin or his associates during her tenure with the company. Hadouch, who worked for the firm for just 3 months in 2016, insisted that at no point was she aware of any illicit dealings or past convictions linked to Gacanin. "I had no knowledge or reason to suspect any involvement in international narcotics operations or money laundering," she stated. She further clarified that Taher Nazar Ali, who was previously identified as Edin Group DMCC's local sponsor in Dubai, was involved strictly as a legal representative, in accordance with UAE business regulations at the time. Hadouch maintained that she had no awareness of any additional dealings he may have had with Gacanin beyond this mandatory corporate sponsorship. Additionally, she denied any association with several of the cartel's alleged operatives, stating that she had never met or interacted with Adnan Smajlovic, Zeniz Kadrik, or Sansa Izjukic. As the intricate web of super cartel activities continues to unravel, one thing remains abundantly clear: while some key players have been taken down, others, like the Kinahans, continue to operate in the shadows, their influence extending across borders, financial systems, and criminal enterprises. Whether international authorities will finally be able to bring them to justice remains to be seen.